Hey everyone, today there's been a lot of stuff revealed surrounding Assassin's Creed and particularly Ubisoft that I think more people need to know about. How the company, like I previously reported, is full of activists and what's being considered dead weight by some. I also have some insider info from someone that Ubisoft may be plagiarizing yet another thing when it comes to shadows, and yeah, it's not looking good. Beyond this, PC Gamer is complaining that the new wave of studios abandoning DEI is a bad thing for the industry, and we'll get to that one eventually. Firstly, Ubisoft, as you already know, is in hot water constantly. They're cooked, as the kids say these days. Everything they've been making has been flopping, and nothing that they've done in recent times has hit with the players. I mean, X-Defiant is gonna die pretty soon. Star Wars Outlaws is doing horribly on Steam. Look at these player numbers, dude. For a AAA Star Wars game, that's just abysmal. But now there's been more leaks from inside the company, from Fandom Pulse. Rumor, vast majority of developers at Ubisoft are dead weight. They don't know how to do anything. This comes from YouTuber Acolon or Acolon TV. I don't know how to say it, I'm sorry, but they made a video about this as well. And they spoke to people who work at Ubisoft, and the situation they're detailing here, well, it's dire to say the least. They said that he spoke to developers who are claiming that Ubisoft is full of deadweight developers. According to his source, at the very top of the pyramid, you have what are called superstar developers. These are the people who are considered the creme of the top talent. They have sway over projects, everyone listens to them, and their insights are highly valued over pretty much everyone else. However, there's apparently not many of these superstar devs left at Ubisoft, since most of them have left in recent years to find better paying positions at more prestigious companies, and I mean, who can blame them? Below this superstar devs are the good developers. These devs aren't considered to have enough sway or clout, if you will, to make anything happen that they want. But they are solid workers that get the job done. This tier of Ubisoft worker used to be the norm before DEI curb-stomped Ubisoft into the pavement over the years. The difference between the superstars and the good devs is that these superstars are considered devs who have, I guess, platforms, so to speak, or their own brand. We're talking devs that have followings on places like Twitter and such. You know, the kind of games people who can tweet something and get thousands of likes? Yeah, kinda like that. Then below both of these tiers, you have the majority of Ubisoft right now, which is considered the deadweight. And this is where the major problems lie with Ubisoft and why things are allegedly changing behind the scenes, but we'll believe it when we see it. According to Acolon TV or Acolon TV, I swear I'm saying his name wrong and I'm sorry, but these deadweight developers are considered the kinds of people who can't get anything done whatsoever no matter what task you give them. According to the Ubisoft source, these people are borderline useless, and they are a big reason why Ubisoft's games are dog water across the board for years now. This garbage tier is also, according to that source, full of political activists that, of course, champion DEI nonsense. It's like what I've always said, and it's good to see the rest of the world finally waking up to what I've been preaching for a while now, which is that DEI activists, or activism really in general these days, is a cancer on our planet, because the majority of these people who advocate or consider themselves a part of these sorts of groups are just parasites that add nothing meaningful to society. Like, you and I both know that inflation and taxes are completely out of whack. I know anyone watching this dreads tax season if they actually make decent money, because you end up having to give pretty much 1/3 of what you made the entire year to your government. In my case, it's Canada, and that money that gets siphoned and used for really stupid stuff. And it angers me to no end knowing that I'm effectively working for free 1/3 of the year, so a bunch of people from other countries, for example, can come into Canada and then add nothing to society. But as long as they claim that they're activists or something and champion slop like DEI, nobody says anything about it. And that's what these DEI devs and these deadweight people are pretty much like at Ubisoft right now. You have this overwhelming majority of useless people who waste your money, time, and resources while contributing absolutely nothing themselves. Yet if you want to not support them because they are black holes for resources, you then get labeled as all kinds of things. But the reality is that what this just ends up doing is causing those good developers, or superstars I guess, to have to work harder than they have to because now they need to do the job of 5 or 10 people because these deadweight DEI activists can't do anything themselves. All they know how to do is get fat, waste time, and waste your resources, and if you call them out on it, you'll go to HR. It's a nightmare, dude. And I'm tired of sugarcoating it. The truth is that it's not just video games. Every industry has to purge these losers from these companies completely. If I was a dev at Ubisoft and I knew my job just got 10 to 20 times as difficult, yet my pay was exactly the same, yeah, you can bet your ass I'm gonna go find a different job at a more competent place. We've all worked jobs where useless people were hired. I worked in restaurants for years prior to doing YouTube. And trust me, when someone got hired at a restaurant that was useless, whether it was a server, a cook, or a dishwasher, even a manager, yeah, people would notice and people would talk and complain about it, because when someone is weak, they disrupt the rhythm and flow of the entire operation. And yet nobody is allowed to say anything, yet you don't get paid more when the dishwasher is too busy texting on their phone instead of, I don't know, washing dishes. Or that the line cook keeps messing up the steaks, which ends up messing up your tips. Or for anyone out here watching this who's worked in restaurants as a server, nothing makes you angrier than that one slow server who sucks at their job, who doesn't clean their own tables. And they just leave everything a mess, and then you have to help them because it makes the restaurant look bad. I swear to God, I could rant about the restaurant industry, but I'll refrain. I'll stick to video games, but oh my God, dude, yes, I know how awful it is to work with useless people. Now imagine all those lazy people, the servers, the cooks, the washers, and they make up well over 50% of your restaurant now. Nothing is getting done. And now you gotta do more. Yeah, that's Ubisoft pretty much. And the higher-ups for years would ignore all your complaints and just lock their doors and watch YouTube or something, and then just tell you to do your job. You can't be serious, man, but this is what is happening. This source claims that this is why these deadweight useless devs become so laser-focused on the DEI activist side of things, because it's a convenient way to mask their inability to contribute in any meaningful way to the operations around them. You can't fire a useless person in these companies if they mask themselves with all kinds of labels, flags, or identities. Because now they're a matchbox of human resources fire, and they know this. And then they band together because losers tend to attract other losers, and then they all bundle up and form a wall of pointless virtue signaling. And Ubisoft needs to get rid of these people and slim themselves down and become far more selective with who they hire in the future, if they even exist at that point. As I explained in one of my videos from October 2024, when I spoke to people at Ubisoft myself, this mirrors what I was told too. I was told they were hiring people as project managers of all things that had no idea how to make a game, and they couldn't even speak English or French properly. Mind you, both of those languages are mandatory to work at Ubisoft, well, at least one of them is. Since a bulk of Ubisoft is found in Quebec, Canada, the very French part of that country. So why are you hiring people to boss other people around and be in charge of your studios who can't even communicate properly? It's simple. Because that same deadweight has now creeped its way higher up the food chain. And then they install other deadweights into positions to keep the balance from teetering off. So now you can't fire the person who can't even talk to you, because the person above them is even more useless than the person you're complaining about. Can you tell useless people triggers me? Because it does, dude. I hate freeloaders so much, man. People who think they're entitled to everything while offering nothing to society, my God, if I was in an apocalypse and I had someone like that in my encampment, I'm straight up tossing those people over the wall to the zombies. I don't care. At least the zombies will be fed and I don't gotta waste food on them. Anyway, this source continues by saying that the actual game development side of Ubisoft is a logistical nightmare and takes way too long to get going. Every single change or idea has to be funneled through multiple meetings and people before anything is agreed upon. Although this part, to some degree, it feels like it's honestly how a lot of AAA works even now. These people are constantly in meetings, dude, figuring out things and deciding on what to do, because obviously anything that gets made does cost money and time. But I guess in Ubisoft's case, the amount of time wasted is getting ridiculous. But what do you expect at this point? Especially if these Zoom calls are full of people who, like the source claimed, aren't capable of doing anything at all to begin with. According to the source too, things like bugs in their games were being actively avoided when it came to addressing issues. Mostly because the deadweight devs that were in charge of bugs were incapable of figuring out how to fix those bugs. So instead of fixing the problems, they would just kind of accept that, well, I guess our product will have bugs then. Of course, these claims may be somewhat rectified since recently it was stated that Ubisoft is desperately trying to make Shadows as polished a product as ever. But at this point, I don't think any level of product polishing is going to fix the fact that the core of this game is just not what players want. For example, the game now releases on March 20th, as the game is set in Japan, but also March 20th, as that Park Place puts it. Assassin's Creed Shadows' new release date is anniversary of the worst modern domestic terrorist attack in Japanese history. Another wildly tone-deaf Ubisoft mood toward Japanese culture. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know what this attack was, but apparently this March 20th is the 30th anniversary of this attack. And it happened within Japan's subways. It was called the Tokyo Subway Sarin Attack, and it was done by a cult within Japan at the time. It all resulted in 13 people dying, 50 people being injured, and around 1,000 people, Jesus dude, being impaired with their vision due to the attacks. This attack involved this cult releasing sarin, which is a chemical warfare nerve agent, into 3 lines of the Tokyo subway tunnels. It was an attack apparently on Japanese parliament and ended up harming tons of citizens. So yeah, that day is the day that Shadows now comes out. Yeah, I know, again, Ubisoft has no idea of anything, man. This just keeps getting worse. So for a game or publisher to claim that it knows and champions Japanese culture only to do this alongside the one-legged Torigate thing before, not to mention having art in the game that was either stolen or from the wrong parts of Japanese history within the game, it's a mess, man. It's all such a mess. I also wanted to take the time to showcase something that was sent my way about Shadow's upcoming DLC for the game, which is called Claws of Awaji. So there's another game called Warlord Awaji on Steam right now. It's made by Dark Matter Games. They have also created a previous historical game called Warlord Britannia in 2022, and this is a part of the same series, obviously. Anyway, let's read the Warlord Awaji store page here as I was sent this, and then let's compare it, and it reads: Lead a samurai invasion into the mysterious island of Awaji. Recruit, promote, and upgrade your warriors while navigating the ancient world of feudal Japan. Use samurai weapons and strategies to conquer the entire island and become warlord. It's this next part where the claim is made, which reads: Warlord Awaji is a second entry in a series of immersive strategy games created by Dark Matter Games. Step into the shoes of a samurai warlord, given special command and covert orders from the Emperor to conquer an entire island and recover a legendary treasure. So here's what Shadow says in their Claws of Awaji expansion description. Pre-purchase to get the blah 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 and the Claws of Awaji expansion, releasing later in 2025. Feel the fear of being hunted and under threat on a mysterious island. Reclaim a lost treasure while avoiding the traps and ambushes of deadly new foes. The person that sent me this claims that Ubisoft plagiarized their idea for their game and deliberately used similar language with Ubisoft's Awaji expansion, stating that it's all about reclaiming a lost treasure, whereas Warlord Awaji says recovering a legendary treasure. The person who sent me this is claiming that Ubisoft is ripping off Warlord Awaji, and since these are the only 2 games that apparently show up if you look up Awaji on Steam, that this is Ubisoft yet again being lazy and just plagiarizing things even more. Which, like I said previously already, they've been caught plagiarizing a ton for Shadows in the past, so this is not out of the realm of possibility. As I was told, Warlord Awaji is being plagiarized, and that game is, according to my source, being historically accurate in every way imaginable, unlike Shadows. According to my source, Warlord Awaji has been in the planning phase and such for about 3 years and has been in active development for 1 year total so far. The game is set in the Nanbokucho Moromachi period, which is an older period than when Shadows is set in. Warlord will let you play as a Japanese male samurai who leads retainers, and the game will have 0 DEI or wokeness at all. And the game has a world-class historian from Princeton University that's consulting on the game to ensure that everything is as authentic as possible. And the game will have native Japanese voice actors, and the development team has members who are self-taught in Japanese too, and have also made multiple trips to Japan to places like the island of Awaji itself to ensure their game is as authentic as humanly possible to the time period. And the game clearly has high interest, as good trailer view numbers around 90k or so for a game of this size. That's great. And it garnered positive receptions from the Steam Next Fest, where its demo was playable. And yeah, this game's concept is allegedly being co-opted by Ubisoft for their upcoming expansion. I don't have more on that right now, but that was what I was sent by someone that was very familiar with the project. Basically, others who are making authentic Japanese games are being insulted by Ubisoft and Shadow's presence. And like I said before, if Shadows fails, that's it. It's curtains for them. They can't survive another flop, and Shadows has been in development for far too long already. Probably doesn't help that Mark Alexis Coate, who is one of the big wigs working on Shadows, publicly admitted that Shadow's dev team is full of well over half junior talent, meaning yeah, some of that is the dead weight that the source was talking about. So Shadow's team is, well, it's cooked indeed, dear viewer. I know I've been asked already to review Shadows for the channel, but do I really want to subject myself to such slop again? We'll see, but as you can see based on the rumors and what I've been sent, it's not looking good. They're being attacked from all sides, and I think rightfully so. They can claim that it's harassment, but when you steal art, mess up basic things like harvesting areas in your game, have people holding weapons incorrectly, sitting too close to important figures within settings that make no sense, not to mention that one shot in one of the trailers where Yasuke writes a single kanji on a piece of paper, which by the way is stupid. That's the equivalent of a child writing the letter A as big as they can on a sheet of paper and nothing else, like Ubisoft. You can't be serious, man. Now you got plagiarizing claims again, deadweight devs being ousted by their own people, and everything else. Yeah. Shadows is going to be one of the biggest releases of the year in terms of content and discussion, and it's not even close. It's going to be a mess, and when it releases, the entire internet will be picking it apart like a Costco rotisserie chicken that just got thrown into a pit of rabid dogs. Good luck to Ubisoft, they're gonna need it. Now I want to talk about PC Gamer, who at this point, the PC part of their name should just stand for politically correct, because that's what they seem to want to be all of the time. Here's their article. Lords of the Fallen publisher embraces fear of the DEI boogeyman, says it will not include any social or political agendas in its games. I already spoke about how CI Games, the Lords of the Fallen devs, are rejecting DEI already in a previous video. And this segment and this video isn't even necessarily about them, but more so about how PC Gamer here just can't help themselves but complain about things even though they lost. Just listen to how PC Gamer words this story. CI Games defines DEI, which has become shorthand slang for things I don't like, among some parts of video game fandom, nor did he offer any examples of games that failed due to their social or political agendas. Concord and Dustborn are commonly held up as examples of such, but the reality is that they're just two of literally thousands of games, 19,000 new games on Steam alone in 2024, that failed to find an audience over the past year. And in the case of Concord in particular, it arguably just wasn't a great game. We gave it a 45% in our review, and not because we didn't think the cast was wide enough. He did unfortunately lend credence to the ugly and patently false assertion that DEI is ruining gaming by, well, that's not really clear either. But that almost doesn't matter, as a hot button buzzword among angry reactionary gamers. The DEI boogeyman doesn't need a definition, and just needs to stir up lizard brain emotions on the way to generating views. Hill's comments stand in sharp contrast to those expressed by another Polish game company, CD Projekt Red, Witcher and Cyberpunk, in its diversity and inclusion page, which does in fact define the studio's approach to DEI in detail. CEO Adam Kaczynski says a diversity of perspectives unlocks creativity and increases innovation. CI Games declined to comment on Hill's statement. However, shortly after the story was published, CEO Marek Tymiński posted a message on X confirming the studio will not integrate DEI elements, which he also left undefined, into its games. As you can see, PC Gamer tries to spin the story that DEI being rejected is bad for games, yet they themselves can't come up with a single example themselves in the entire article where DEI has objectively been a net positive for the games industry either. They instead turn their argument into saying that the people who fight against it are in the wrong, where Andy Chalk, who wrote this article in the first place, says, As a hot button buzzword among angry reactionary gamers, the DEI boogeyman doesn't need a definition, it just needs to stir up lizard brain emotions on the way to generating views. Yet I, alongside many others, have routinely defined what DEI is and what it has done to games, movies, and so on plenty already. DEI is diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is hiring people based on gender and skin color over that of merit or talent. Ironically enough, looking at Andy Chalk, a PC gamer, in his little profile at the bottom of the article here, he's an older white guy, which means I should probably put this in a way so Andy can understand what DEI means, since he himself can't bring himself to define it either. Andy, DEI is this pretty much. If you were trying to get into games right now, with the same level of skill that you have for writing, you would be overlooked, forgotten, and ignored, not because of your talents, but simply because you are, by your picture, a white man. I have no idea if you're straight or not, but if you are straight, then that's 2 strikes already against you ever being hired by PC Gamer pretty much. The only reason why you are actively employed by PC Gamer is because you were hired prior to such hiring practices becoming the norm. You know this, we all do. You would be looked over and moved aside for some Indian woman or black guy, even if they have no talent or credentials when it comes to writing for games. You would simply not be hired because of who you are on the surface instead of what you actually bring to the table. Does that make sense, Andy? Is that a sufficient enough answer for you? Because apparently, according to you, we are all lizard brains. You wouldn't be able to write this article if you tried to apply today at PC Gamer because you're too white and male for that. So maybe you should understand that DEI is actively trying to replace someone like you for other people deliberately. And I'm sure you would think that's a great idea, because you know if you challenge the narrative even a centimeter, your so-called colleagues and allies would tear you apart like a bunch of fat kids fighting over a chocolate bar. You can claim that the erasure of your skin color or your gender is somehow a net positive to society. But I bet you, when you are inevitably replaced by some other person who has 1/10 your talent or experience, who, by the way, will not even remember who you are a week after you leave because you are everything that they've been conditioned to hate by their professors and colleagues alike for years, that when your bills start mounting up and you're looking for a job, I just want you to know that it will be that very same DEI policy you apparently champion, like some kind of god, that it will do everything in its power to remove you, in both body, mind, and soul, from the very industry that you work so hard to get into yourself. DEI is a cancer that was created by out-of-touch morons who hate themselves to channel their own self-pity into virtuous praise from people who hate them regardless of what they do for them in the end anyways. You're effectively a fish that is telling other fish to relax, that a shark that is within 2 meters of you, somehow, that you are oblivious to the fact that you're about to literally become that shark's lunch. So you can act stupid all you want, I mean that's your right and you're entitled to it, but don't bring the rest of us down to your self-pathetic level in order to devalue what is clearly a major problem in not just games, but all facets of the world. DEI literally led to Los Angeles burning to the ground too, by the way. Are you going to open your doors to the migrants coming through the border too? After all, you're a liberal white guy, so you don't matter anyway, right? So pack up your things and let the migrants move in while you're at it. And you know what? Pay all their bills. Pay the rent, pay the mortgage, pay the electricity and the water. I mean, why not, right? They're better than you in every way anyway. You don't matter, so just do it. But if you're going to be a woke liberal, at least practice what you preach. And if you refuse to, then, from the bottom of my heart to the tip of my nuts, shut your mouth and never speak about me or others ever again. Thank you for watching, subscribe, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you when I see you.